When she shared the news with her husband, she'd expected him to smile, hug her tightly, and tell her how happy he was. Instead, his face lost its color, deforming into a frown. He stared at her like he'd never seen her before and stormed out of the room. It was clear to Christina that her problems were only beginning. She'd pushed it too far this time, and the result was her fairy tale devolving into a horror story. All her friends and family told her that her idea was crazy. Providing for such a massive number of kids would be challenging, let alone the health risks that would accompany giving birth to all of them. But she had the perfect man who'd help her see her plan to fruition. Or at least that's what she thought. But after having 22 children all at once, her problems were far from over. When it all came crashing down, the only things she had by her side were an uncertain future and a million questions. Krystyna Kolińska was born in Poland 23 years ago. For the longest while, Krystyna had always had one dream and goal in life: to have as many kids as possible. She'd thought about having dozens of children, seeing any number closer to a three-figure number as the sweet spot. Although it wouldn't be easy, she had the perfect plan to see her goal through. Before meeting the man who'd make her dreams come true, Krystyna had several ups and downs in her romantic life. At the tender age of 18, she'd already been married with a baby. But that marriage came to a swift end, and Krystyna spent the next few years searching for the man who'd give her what she craved: her dozen kids. She'd forgotten the adage, "Be careful what you wish for." Finding the ideal man was a challenging endeavor for Krystyna. She was straightforward with every guy she met, telling them about her goal. Many men weren't interested in starting families, let alone fathering such a massive one. But one day, she met the man who would bring her dream closer than it had ever been. From the moment she lay eyes on him, she knew he was the one. Krystyna's knight in shining armor was Yusuf Aksoy, a Turkish multimillionaire who'd made a name in the travel business. Their love life was the stuff of romance novels and films, attracting everyone in their country, including the media. He's a mentor, guide, and fairy tale prince all rolled into one. Krystyna once described Yusuf, but she didn't mention that her prince had a dark past shrouded in mystery. Many rumors held that Yusuf escaped his country to avoid a court trial. The accusations were dire, with the leading one stating that he'd ordered the assassination of one of his competitors in the travel business. When Krystyna heard the rumors, she didn't know what to make of them. She remembered running into Yusuf in Badami, Georgia, at the Las Vegas of the Black Sea, a luxury resort. By the time she learned of his past and status, she was already deeply in love with him. From the beginning, Krystyna was frank with Yusuf about her goal. She told him she wanted more than 100 kids, and his answer was a simple, "So be it." The couple knew the journey wouldn't be easy. Most people around them said that limitations of human physiology wouldn't allow them to see their goal through. But the two forged ahead until they did it. Krystyna's plan had initially been to have a kid per year, but her doctor warned her against the idea, telling her it would put a lot of strain on her body and mind. But they offered another solution. Krystyna's doctor told her and Yusuf about the wonders of surrogacy, and the couple looked into it. Although quite expensive, they doubled down and got started. As the year came to an end, they had 22 of their kids born to moms from all over the globe. But although everything was going on swimmingly, tragedy would soon rear its ugly head. Yusuf, Krystyna, and their 22 kids lived in their Georgia mansion then. The couple had pumped over $200,000 in surrogacy alone and spent $120,000 a year on 16 live-in nannies. But such numbers were nothing to give Yusuf sleepless nights. Krystyna was happier than she'd ever been. She had no clue that the end was so near. But in the meantime, she really enjoyed the ride. She was interviewed numerous times about her marriage and how it was to be a mother to 22 children. And she made clear that she was taking her motherly role really seriously. After all, it was all she had been living for. "I'm with the kids all the time, doing all the things that moms normally do. The only difference is the number of kids. Each day is different, from planning staff schedules to shopping for my family. I teach each nanny independently when applying for a job. No amateur activity is allowed. The upbringing of children is strictly according to my instructions," she told the press. Each child has a diary that records all the details of his life: what we ate, how much we ate, how I slept, how I walked, how many went to the toilet, how many were crying, what changes happened with the body. But all that meticulously planned palace of harmony and love came down in shambles one day. It happened on the day Christina had some good news for Yusuf. After months of trying, they had finally made it. She was pregnant. Their next child would be totally of their own. Christina was excited out of her mind, and she expected that Yusuf would be too. But he didn't seem to be. He just stared at her with a blank expression, walked out the door, and got in his helicopter. The next time Christina heard from him, 2 months later, he was in Kazakhstan. But why did he flee? Christina never got a clear explanation from Yusuf. Maybe he was on the run from his enemies and the Turkish and Georgian police forces. Perhaps he just saw that having 22 kids wasn't really all cracked up to be. But whatever his reason was, he abandoned Christina and the kids. Christina was devastated by this event. Fortunately, her child was born healthy some months later, but his father wasn't there to see it. Christina never forgave him, and eventually, she found a way to serve justice. She filed for divorce. Unfortunately, the details of the post-divorce arrangements are not known, but Christina is still living in Yusuf's Georgian mansion with her army of nannies. And between alimony and child support, it's to be expected that she will have some retribution for Yusuf's betrayal. But there is still one question to be answered. What was the reason that made Yusuf escape from Georgia and abandon his family?